Welcome in, comrades. My name is Jack Sperry, and this is the Commanders Report. Today, we are going to be talking about a report, or actually, Ron Rivera said it himself, that the Washington Commanders are looking for another running back to add to the room along with Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson. We're going to be going over 5 potential names that the Washington Commanders could add in the coming weeks. But first, make sure you click that subscribe button. We are only 116 subscribers away from 2,000. And this is what I'm hearing, guys, from my bosses here at Chat Sports. Right now, we are competing with 3 other new channels for a full-time channel here at Chat Sports. And I'm being told that the first one at 2,000 is going to get that full-time channel. Right now, the race is really, really close. So if you want that full-time channel for your Washington Commanders, you got to click that subscribe button for me right now. So now let's talk about this report here from John Kime, who says, as far as running back, Rivera said they want to add someone else. So this is coming from the horse's mouth himself here, Ron Rivera. Could be in free agency or the draft. Brian Robinson would still be the top guy. Gibson can handle the McKissick role. He did so last year, but still would like to add another back. So with that being said, let's dive into some potential running back targets for the Washington Commanders. Number 1 here on our list, Kareem Hunt. Now, Kareem Hunt's been a good back in this league for a long time. Had a little bit of a dip last year. He turns 28 in August, so he is getting a bit up there in age. Once running backs get past around 30 years old, things start to go downhill very, very quickly. He's coming off a career low 3.8 yards per carry with the Browns last season, but would he be a nice change of pace from Brian Robinson, who's more of a thumper in the middle of the field? You take a look at his stats from last year. Rushing stats, 123 carries for 468 yards. That is an average of 3.8 yards per carry, 3 total touchdowns. Of course, Nick Chubb is the bell cow there in Cleveland, so Kareem Hunt did take a secondary role, but then in the receiving area is where you really look at and you're like, this guy provides some value. 44 targets, 35 receptions for 210 yards receiving, and an additional touchdown there. Really think Kareem Hunt is somebody that the Browns, or that the Commanders, could look at adding here. I think he would offer a nice little change of pace from Brian Robinson, and then he also provides a little bit of a change of pace as well from Antonio Gibson. I think that he would be a good fit for the Washington Commanders, and at this point in free agency, you could probably get him for a pretty decent price. Get in the comment section right now and tell me, should the Washington Commanders add another running back? Type Y if you think yes, or type N if you think no. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show, so whenever you get a second, just go right down to the comment section, find that pinned comment, and answer today's question. Number 2 on our list here, Leonard Fournette. He is still on the free agency market, and Fournette's a really interesting character. Former first-round pick, former top 10 draft pick in the NFL draft, turns 28 years old in January, so like Hunt, he is getting a little bit up there in age. His 3.5 yards per carry last season was the lowest in his career since 2018, so that's certainly not great. And he's coming off a career high in receiving yards last year with 523, so it seems like he's starting to implement some of that receiving skill set into his game, which is a plus. Let's take a look at his stats over the last couple of years. He's had some great moments in his career. His year in Jacksonville, he was fantastic on that fantastic AFC Championship run back in 2017. But man, this guy's been in the league a little while, and you can see that the production has begun to dip down. Just 3 touchdowns last year. He had 8 in 2021 and 6 in 2020. But you look at the yards per carry there, 3.5 was the lowest of his career last season. It's starting to look like that father time is starting to catch up with Leonard Fournette. But if you want to add another running back to this rank who's had success in the playoffs, as was really, really crucial to that Super Bowl run that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers went on in 2020, you could certainly add a guy like Leonard Fournette. Next guy on our list here, Ezekiel Elliott. Yes, the dreaded Ezekiel Elliott could be on his way to the Washington Commanders. He did not have the Commanders on his list, on his wish list, essentially, of teams that he would like to go to, but he could potentially come to Washington and play his old team twice a year. Let's take a look at his production over the last couple of years, and it's definitely dipped. At this point in his career, Ezekiel Elliott is strictly a power back. He's no longer that bell cow type of player, 3-down running back. He's somebody that you bring in short yard situations and at the goal line, and he can get you touchdowns, right? 12 touchdowns and 10 touchdowns the last couple of years. Last year, 3.8 yards per carry. Certainly not cutting it. That's why he got cut by the Dallas Cowboys this offseason. Still has yet to be signed. Still be still looking for his next home. But the reason why that he can really consider coming to Washington, and one of the reasons why I think that he actually put the Philadelphia Eagles on his wish list is because he can play the Dallas Cowboys, his old team, the team that cut him, twice a year. Now the Commanders have Brian Robinson, who's more of a thumper himself. You're pretty much bringing Ezekiel Elliott in to fill a very similar role, so you could definitely argue that this doesn't make sense from the Commanders side of things, but from Zeke's perspective, if I were Ezekiel Elliott, I would want to be playing my old team twice a year to show them that they made a massive mistake. Let me know in the comment section right now, Commanders fans, would you sign Ezekiel Elliott? Type S if you would sign him, or type P if you're passing on Ezekiel Elliott. Next up on our list, a draft prospect here, Zach Charbanet from UCLA. He's going to be about a mid-round draft prospect, and NFL.com right now has a prospect grade on him of 6.23, which is pretty darn good, which is, and their quote for him here, their projection is that he will eventually be a starter in the National Football League. They compare him to A.J. Dillon. I like that comparison because he is a bit more of a thumper. He's somebody that's really, really good in short yard situations. Doesn't have great long speed, in my opinion. He's not going to hit the home runs for you, but he's going to be able to hit those singles, get you those first downs, and get you those touchdowns in the goal line. And he brings a similar skill set to Brian Robinson, because like we've said before on the show, guys, Brian Robinson is a thumper. Zach Charbanet is the same way. Take a look at his stats last year with the UCLA Bruins. 195 carries for over 1,300 yards for an average of 6.9 yards per carry and 14 touchdowns in 10 games played. Now, I really like Zach Charbanet, somebody that the Commanders could definitely look at in the middle rounds. I think because you have Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson on your roster already, you don't have to go and get a running back early or even go get one in free agency. You can sit a while, get a guy in the middle rounds that'll fit what you want to do here in Washington. And then finally, a potential trade target for the Commanders, Dalvin Cook, superstar running back, or at least former superstar running back with the Minnesota Vikings. It seems like his relationship with the Minnesota Vikings is starting to sour a little bit, and there's a report that the Vikings looked into signing David Montgomery in NFL free agency. There's been multiple reports that Minnesota has tried to trade Dalvin Cook, and does this mean that Dalvin Cook is available for trade? 100% he is available for trade. I think that Minnesota probably wants a little bit too much for him at this point, and like some of the other guys on this list, Cook turns 28 this year, and he's definitely getting up there in age. But man, you cannot deny that this guy's had some fantastic years in the National Football League. That 2020 season with 16 touchdowns, 5.1 yards per carry. I mean, during that season, he was arguably the best running back in the National Football League. He's still very explosive. He's still a really good zone running back, in my opinion. And I really think, last year the Commanders ran a lot of power stuff, so I'm not sure how well Dalvin Cook fits into this Commander system. But with Eric Bieniemy coming in, you can expect to see a lot more inside zone, lots more zone running schemes. So I think Dalvin Cook is a better fit now than he would have been last year. But man, trading for a running back, a veteran running back, I'm passing on that 100%, guys. If you already have two pretty decent running backs on the roster with Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson, I'm not trading very valuable draft capital to go get a veteran. I would much rather draft a really good running back in the middle rounds. This running back class is one of the best that we've seen in a very long time. You can get a potential starting caliber running back in like the 4th or 5th round, day 3 of the NFL draft. No way am I spending draft capital to get a guy, a 28-year-old veteran that's on his way out the door of the league in the next couple of years. I would rather invest that in somebody that's on the up and up. So get in the comment section right now and let me know, which running back should the Commanders add this offseason? Is it somebody in the draft? Is it somebody in free agency? Should they trade for Dalvin Cook? Let me know in the comment section which running back you want to add to this group. All right, so before I go, guys, this is your second reminder to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We are almost at 2,000 subscribers. Once we get there, there's going to be a pretty decent chance here that we are going to get a full-time channel for your Washington Commanders. So if you want that, and you want daily Washington Commanders videos, go ahead and click that subscribe button for me right now.